It's finally, finally here. Every day, myself and pretty much the entirety of the hip hop community and music fans in general have been praying to the rap gods to have another Kendrick Lamar album come out. And then, I mean, hey, it's finally here. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is the sixth overall studio album from rapper and legend in the making, if not already legend, Kendrick Lamar. His first since 2017's Damn, as well as concrete evidence, concrete proof that he is not dead nor retired. I mean, him announcing Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by replying to a tweet that said that he was retired probably, told you that already, but just in case you needed extra confirmation, here it is. This is an album that people have been patiently and then impatiently and then extremely impatiently been waiting for to even be announced, let alone released. And to see it finally drop is a mixture of exciting and also relieving as well. I mean, Death Grips potentially hinting towards a new album is a big deal as well, but I think Kendrick, with this record officially confirming that he is not in fact done with music, is the biggest thank God you're not retired in a good while as far as music goes. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was, to the surprise of many fans, including myself, initially announced as a double album, which, I mean, it is. And double albums are a tricky thing because no matter the genre, it's incredibly easy to just run out of steam halfway through, even a quarter way through. And it's much, much easier to make a incredibly drawn-out, boring double album than it is to make even a half-decent one. Especially considering a good chunk of this album is exclusively Kendrick with little to no features for the most part. Again, anyway, there's some there, but later for that. I do think that this was maybe a bit of a risky move for Kendrick overall, but you know what? It worked out. The overall structure of the album is actually well put together, and the sort of non-linear song ordering here works in a very cinematic fashion that is generally pretty effective overall. I mean, sure, there are moments where this very dramatic and self-serious, yet still down-to-earth tone don't necessarily work for the sake of the album, and that especially rings true on the second half of the album, with tracks like Silent Hill kind of reminding the listener that there's nothing really new being represented by Kendrick in his sound after about an hour of listening to this hour and 10-minute long project. However, it's more often than not that Kendrick's social, cultural, and politically conscious themes and lyricism that carry over from song to song allow Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers to just really surprisingly work as a double album that never really overstays its welcome. Kendrick's flow is excellent here as expected, but then again, I beg you this question. Could anyone really expect anything less than incredibly strong from the man that's given us albums like Good Kid, Mad City, and To Pimp a Butterfly? I digress. Our rapper in question utilizes Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers as a platform to pair his intelligent yet blunt lyricism with his dexterous and versatile flows. While he may not necessarily be the most unique performer in the world in terms of actual lyrical delivery, Kendrick takes each line and puts it out with such conviction that you can't help but be persuaded by almost everything he says, whether it's his political activism or his general societal and personal internal observations. Although it has rightfully been said by hundreds, thousands even before me, Kendrick Lamar may very well be the ultimate voice of the current generation of hip-hop. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is very comparable to other Kendrick albums like the aforementioned To Pimp a Butterfly, as well as Untitled Unmastered, as it does deal with a lot of very worldly and very serious world-based topics. However, Kendrick's latest album feels like it takes place on a much more personal level than his previous works ever have. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers isn't the podium speaker Kendrick Lamar that we found on those previously mentioned albums, but rather Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is the emotionally honest yet never quite vulnerable Kendrick that we have seen periodically but never through an entire album until now. If Kendrick's previous work was a third-person view of society and humanity, then Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is directly first-person, and it arguably is his most directly connectable and personal album to date, even if Kendrick does ultimately end up sacrificing a bit of authority in his voice to get there. That being said, there are moments where Kendrick does take on the role of certain characters or certain personas to create some sort of story, some sort of certain artistic vision. These individuals range from the everyday individual that's just fighting the same battles as you and me, or lovers that are in a sort of lover's quarrel, albeit a mildly uncomfortable but very realistic one. I'm still mildly concerned about the fake couple in We Cry Together. I hope they're doing well in the world that Kendrick's created. And there are, of course, many, many other figures that are mentioned or depicted on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers that are used to get whatever Kendrick's point may be from song to song across. This is all paired with Kendrick in and of himself being his own sort of modern poet that is excellent in his own way. And even though Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers arguably isn't the best written Kendrick album or anything like that, it does see Kendrick continue to take on that sort of storyteller, almost everyman kind of role that most really great socially conscious rappers need to be, well, great. My only qualm with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is that while the instrumentals and beats here are not bad by any means, they certainly aren't amazing either. The instrumentals that are found here would be fine for pretty much any less significant rapper, but a rapper of the caliber of Kendrick Lamar really does deserve the same instrumentals that were found on his previous efforts. There are undeniably many times where the beats act as nothing but steady accompaniment to Kendrick's rapping, and while it is pretty common and pretty expected within the realm of hip-hop, it directly opposes the same types of beats that were found on albums like To Pimp a Butterfly or even Section 80. Maybe it's wrong to really compare an artist to their previous work in every single regard and hope that they reach those same highs, especially when Kendrick's made such great albums, such consistent albums over the course of his fairly small but excellent discography, but nonetheless, I don't even want to say lackluster, but not great instrumentals here are the only thing keeping Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers from being a truly amazing entry in the Kendrick Lamar discography. So, overall, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers isn't really a step up or a step down from Damn in any way, and while many people may disagree with me on that, I think that they're, for the most part, on par with one another, as Kendrick is just as striking of a performer as he's ever been. Now, as much as I would love to see it, Kendrick will never repeat the same music that he brought to the table on an album like To Pimp a Butterfly, but then again, no one could. No one, for the most part anyway, could even make an album like To Pimp a Butterfly, so the fact that Kendrick himself can't repeat it is to be expected. All he can do is continue to evolve artistically, and that's exactly what he does on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, all the while continuing to be one of the most important and generally moving lyricists and performers in the rap game right now, which is why I'm going to give Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers 4 stars out of 5. If the beats and instrumentals were just a little more ear-catching, then I would actually consider giving this 4.5, but as it stands, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, 4 stars out of 5. Thank God this album came out. I was starting to get worried it never ever would, but with that being said, that's the end of this review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.